What is going on, everyone? My name is Carter, and today I'll be sharing with you the third part of my Genlock, where I play through Pokemon Emerald. I'm sure there's at least one person asking themselves right now, Carter, what's a Genlock? A Genlock is a complete Nuzlocke playthrough of every generation of Pokemon from Generation 1 through, as of now, Generation 9. I'll only be allowed to catch one Pokemon per route in each game, and if a Pokemon dies, it's dead forever. I won't be able to use that Pokemon in any future generation, so deaths can really cost me if I'm not careful. Additionally, the surviving members of my Hall of Fame team will be brought into the next generation as my starting team, though they'll be brought back to their pre-evolved state. Past that, I'll be following the traditional hardcore Nuzlocke rules: no items in battle outside of held items and Pokeballs to catch encounters, no overleveling the next gym leader's ace, and I'll always be playing on step mode. Moving into Emerald, we have a very solid team of 6. Amber the Aerodactyl, Lavastone the Magcargo, Amethyst the Gengar, Tiger's Eye the Umbreon, Hamburgite the Snorlax, and Malachite the Politoed. They'll be hanging out in the PC for the first part of the run. Additionally, we've had 6 deaths so far: Venusaur, Beedrill, Alakazam, Victreebel, Steelix, and Tentacruel. All of these lines are removed from any potential encounters. With the rules out of the way, let's get to the run. Mom has made me sit in the back of a moving truck all the way to our new home in Little Root Town. But it's fine. I'm not sticking around long in this town. I've got badges to collect and Pokemon to train. After barging into my neighbor's house, I head to Route 101 to meet Professor Birch. He's in distress and it's up to me and my new partner to save him. Naturally, I pick Torchic, the best starter in the entire franchise, and we quickly dispatch the Zigzagoon who's bothering Birch. For saving his life, he graciously lets me keep Taco Bell, and together we head north to go find his daughter. A quick stop in Oldale Town lets me pick up a few old friends, and then we quickly destroy May's hopes and dreams of being the best Pokemon trainer in Little Root. Together we head back and talk to her dad, who gives us some Pokeballs. So now it's time to get my dad's blessing to start collecting badges in Hoenn. But first, it's time for a few encounters. As with the previous videos in the series, I'll only be going over encounters we collect that are actually going to see the light of day, and this first batch of encounters don't disappoint. On 103 we get Pizza Hut the Poochyena, and on 102 we find Taco John's the Lotad. The team and I make our way to Petalburg City, and our dad asks us to go help Wally catch his Ralts. He then tells us we should head to Rustboro City to challenge our first gym leader, so that's where we head. In Petalburg Woods, we find a Team Aqua Grunt and beat him up. We probably won't be seeing him again. We end up catching Carl's Jr. the Silcoon here as a consolation prize. On 104 we end up adding Dairy Queen the Meryl to the box, and mark our way past Rustboro so we can collect our state-issued Whismur, who I named Burger King. On our way back to Rustboro, I run into Wendy's the Talo. As we watch Malachite make quick work of Roxanne, I'd like to say, to all the fast food companies that are getting free advertisement via this video, my DMs are always open. We have already seen a couple VGC players get some sweet swag from a certain unnamed state-associated chicken company. What's one more? My price is very low, just send me a hat or something. Anyway, water type good against rock specialists, who knew? As soon as we leave the gym, we see that Aqua Grunt run by, and some dude in a suit asks us to stop him. We make our way back to Rustboro Tunnel, where Mr. Briny asks for our help getting his Wingull back, which we do. In doing this, the suit says his boss wants to see us now, and Mr. Stone asks for our help being his errand boy. We make our way to Mr. Briny's house to sail to Dewford Town to deliver Mr. Stone's mail to his son. On our way we pick up Domino's the Magikarp and McDonald's the Zubat. Inside Granite Cave we meet Steven, who we deliver the letter to, and then we head out to Slateport City to pass on the ship parts to Captain Stern. But Stern is stuck in the museum, and I would rather go get another badge before moving on, so it's time to see the power of Guts Talo. Brawly leads his Machop into pre-poisoned Wendy's. Wing Attack isn't quite enough to pick up the one hit, so a Seismic Toss does exactly half after poison. Brawly is going to heal this turn, so a second Wing Attack brings him back into the red. It's at this point I realized I'd never fully leveled up Wendy's, and had I done so, the Yoko from Wing Attack was probably going to happen. Meditate comes out for Brawly, but a single Wing Attack takes him out, bringing out Makuhita, Brawly's ace. At this point, Wendy's is getting pretty low on HP, so I swap into Carl's Jr. on a Vital Throw for minimal damage. A Stun Spore connects as Makuhita goes for a Bulk Up. After a few gusts, the last one being a crit, Makuhita goes down with Carl's Jr. never taking a hit. With our second badge in hand, we head back into Slateport so we can deliver the goods to Captain Stern. Inside the museum is a bunch of Aqua Grunts, and after beating up a couple, Archie introduces himself and his plans and then clears out the museum. We give Stern his parts and head north, where we run into May again. She leads with Wombre into Wendy's. A quick attack picks up the easy KO, bringing in Slugma. Another wing attack picks up another easy KO, bringing in her Marshtomp. Wing attack does about a third, and she goes for Bide. We stall out the Bide, so a wing attack into a quick attack pick up the KO, and the team and I have made it to Mauville. Wally is in the way of the gym, so we push him out of the way so we can make it to Watson. He leads Voltorb, and Hamburgite comes out for us. A Spark does minimal damage as Hamburgite gets an Amnesia off. A second Spark does even less now, as a Headbutt gets the Oko. Electrike comes out second, and goes for a Howl as we go for a Yawn. Electrike goes for another Howl, and we set up a Belly Drum, giving us a huge boost to our attack. As Electrike snoozes, Headbutt connects for the Oko, but Static gets the Paralysis. Magneton comes out next, and a Shockwave does basically nothing. Our Headbutt brings them into the red, Watson heals with a Super Potion, and another Headbutt brings them back into the red. Another potion, but this time we are paralyzed, so Magneton gets off another Shockwave. A few turns later, Hamburgite is down into the red, and we finally connect with another Headbutt to take out Magneton. Manectric comes out last for Watson. We pivot into Lava Stone as Manectric goes for a Howl. Another Howl from Manectric as we go for a Yawn. Anticipating a quick attack, we pivot into Amethyst, but Manectric just goes for another Howl and then falls asleep. Nightshade is doing about a quarter each hit, but Manectric stays snoozing as we whittle down his health. Manectric finally wakes up and fires off a really powerful Shockwave, but by this point, it's too late as another Nightshade takes out the Manectric, winning us our third badge. We leave the gym and head north and pick up a few new friends. On Route 112, we find A&W the Numel. Inside Fiery Path, we find Bandanas the Torkoal. 113, we find Jack-in-the-Box the Spinda. And 114, we find KFC the Swablu. All of them are going to be chilling in the box for a while. In Meteor Falls, Team Aqua and Team Magma are fighting about whose ideas are crazier, but now it's up to Mount Chimney to stop Magma from blowing up the volcano. After a few grunt fights, we make our way to Maxie. He leads Mightyena, whose Intimidate drops Taco Bell's attack from the start. Our double kick does just over half as he goes for a bite, meaning our second double kick is enough for the KO. This brings in Camerupt, so I pivot into Malachite on a Magnitude 7, doing just over half to us. Fearing another, I bring in Amber, and rightfully so as his Magnitude rolls a 9 this time. After a few wing attacks and 2 super potions from Maxie, his Camel goes down with Amber's HP still in the green. This brings in Zubat last for Maxie, and with another wing attack, the fight is won. This gives us access to Jagged Pass, where we encounter a Spoink. Naturally wanting to catch it, I decide it's best to put it to sleep, bringing in Amethyst, who can probably live a confusion from him. What I don't know is that a level 20 Spoink knows Psybeam, which crits, and one-shots Amethyst. Obviously, this is a terrible loss, and is one that really did not need to happen. I could have made my way into Lava Ridge and built a team that could have reasonably have caught the Spoink and gotten the way out of here unscathed. Instead, I rushed into it so I didn't have to backtrack, and it cost me one of our original teammates. I'm sorry, Amethyst. May you rest easy. We do end up catching Arby's the Spoink, but if I had the choice of Grumpig or Gengar, I would much rather have Gengar. The team and I make it to Lava Ridge Town, and immediately we head into the gym to get our next badge. A few uneventful fights later, and Flannery awaits us. Her lead Numel likes to set up Sunny Day, but Malachite is able to outspeed her and pick up the Oko with a water gun. This brings in Slugma next, who also goes down to a single water gun. Next up is Camerupt. Our water gun does half, and Flannery finally gets to set Sunny Day, but we've come prepared. Malachite sets up a Rain Dance the next turn, and takes a tackle for weak damage. This means our next water gun is enough to take out the Camel, and this brings in Flannery's ace, Torkoal. Our rain boosted water gun does about a third, but she sets up the sun. But if VGC has taught me anything, it's that you don't want to see a Torkoal in the sun. The next turn we set up the rain again, as we've taken overheat for about half, while her white herb restores the stat drop. I go for a hypnosis here, trying to get the high roll, but miss. As a result, the sun goes back up with another sunny day. Instead of setting back up the rain for some reason, I pivoted to Taco Bell, who takes a sun boosted overheat, dang near taking him out from full HP. I'm baiting a killing move here, so Taco Bell pivots back out, this time into Hamburgite, who takes a body slam for just under half. A yawn means Torkoal is going to snooze next turn, but with another body slam, we're getting low on HP. Instead of pivoting or going for rest, I decide I'm due for some favorable RNG, going for a headbutt and getting the flinch. With that, Torkoal takes a nap, another headbutt brings her into the red. but this puts her into healing range, so with a Hyper Potion, Torkoal is back to full HP. A few turns later, a second Hyper Potion comes out for Flannery. This fight is going nowhere very quickly. Eventually, Hamburgite gets too low on HP, so I go for rest, bringing us back to full HP, but taking a short nap. When she wakes up, she goes for a yawn, and Torkoal brings us back just below half HP. A few headbutts later, and the sleeping turtle finally goes down. In hindsight, this fight went absolutely terrible for me. The objectively correct thing to do was just set up another Rain Dance with Malachite and water gun the Torkoal down. But that would be the easy thing to do, and when have I ever gone for the easy route? Regardless, we have secured our 4th badge, and May gives us the Go Goggles so we can go into the desert. In there, we find Popeye's the ball toy, and make our way to Petalburg for our next gym fight. On our way to Norman, we do have a run-in with a Slack-Off that has counter, almost one-shotting Hamburgite. Close call, but no harm, no foul. Otherwise, we make it to Norman with no problems. Norman leads his Spinda, which can definitely be annoying with Teeter Dance. But Taco Bell picks up an easy KO with a double kick. This brings in his Vigoroth, critting a Facade for a ton of damage as our second double kick brings him into the red. I swap into Amber for free as Vigoroth gets healed back up to full. A few Ancient Powers, one of which gets the Omni Boost, takes out the Vigoroth, bringing in Norman's ace, his Slaking. It should be safe for me to stay in and fire off a wing attack, and then Slaking goes for counter. I cannot believe this. Amber is easily one of my favorite mons in the box. There's a reason he's come through 2 generations, and just like that, one hit is enough to take him out. Amber, I'm so sorry. You've been amazing, and I will miss you dearly. Well, I'm not panicking, you're panicking. Bandanas comes in to cheese the fight against Slaking, protecting on the turns he can attack, and attacking on the loafing turns. Many turns later, and Slaking goes down with Bandanas unscathed. This brings in Linoon last for Norman, who immediately sets up a belly drum, but it doesn't matter. Bandanas connects with a crit flamethrower, taking him out and winning us another badge. But at what cost? Losing Amber is the worst death we've had yet, and right before another gym where he would have been great against Winona. But we've got a few things to take care of before we can get to Winona. We now have Surf, so it's off to see some new areas. In New Mauville, we find In and Out the Magnemite, and a Thunderstone, so we can finally evolve Tiger's Eye into Jolteon. On 118, we catch Long John's the Carvana, and after dispatching Team Aqua in the Weather Institute, we run into May on the bridge. Hamburgite makes quick work of her team, and we've made it into Fort Tree City. But there's not anything for us to do here currently, so on to Route 120, where we get the Devon Scope from Steven. With it in hand, we can make our way into Winona's gym to take on her for our next badge. Winona leads her Swablu, but this thing is terrible and is easily taken out by Tiger's Eye Thunderbolt. This brings out Altaria, who hopefully is going for an Earthquake. Instead, as we bring in Dominoes, Altaria sets up a Dragon Dance. Aerial Ace doesn't do much from her, and our Ice Beam does over half, and gets the freeze. She stays frozen for a turn, which means our second Ice Beam is enough to take Altaria out. Tropius is out third for Winona, but Ice Beam gets another freeze! It doesn't matter as she immediately thaws, going for a weak Aerial Ace. Winona should go for the potion here, meaning 2 more Ice Beams take Tropius out. Her Pelipper likes to go for Protect on turn 1, so we've swapped Dominoes out, bringing back in Tiger's Eye. A few turns later, thanks to a double Protect, Pelipper finally goes down, and Winona is down to her last Pokemon, her Skarmory. But she is no match for Tiger's Eye, getting another KO with a Thunderbolt. 6 badges down, and now we have a lot of story things to take care of, but none of them are going to be too difficult for us to take on. On our way to Mount Pyre, we pick up Hardy's the Shuppet, and then we quickly take out the Aqua Grunts there. Our team takes out Maxie and Magma Hideout without issue. Aqua Hideout is uneventful as well. On our way to Moss Deep City, we make a pit stop into Shoal Cave to pick up Tim Hortons the Spheal. With the team leveled to level 42, we head into Tate and Liza's gym. The last 2 times I attempted this challenge, this fight is where I lost. But I'm confident with the team we have. Let's do it. TNL lead Claydol and Xatu into Hardy's and Hamburgite. Xatu sets up a Calm Mind, Claydol goes for an Earthquake, doing more damage than I would like to our team. Hardy's Will-O-Wisp connects into Claydol, and Shadow Ball leaves Xatu with about a third, getting the special defense drop. After the Citrus Heal and the burn on Claydol, Hardy's should be safe and stay here, but I underestimate Xatu, who's psychic enough to get the KO. I bring in Dominoes, who takes a Psychic from Claydol, as our second Shadow Ball takes out the Xatu, bringing out Lunatone. Surf from Dominoes does decent damage to both. Claydol's Psychic connects into Hamburgite, bringing her to just above half. Lunatone sets up a Calm Mind, and Shadow Ball takes Lunatone down to a sliver. Their Citrus Berry brings him back up to the orange, hopefully outside of heal range, and thankfully it does, as our next Surf connects, not quite picking up the Claydol, who connects with another Psychic into Hamburgite. Lunatone goes for a Hypnosis, luckily into Dominoes, allowing another Shadow Ball to take them out, bringing in TNL's last Mond, Solrock. Claydol goes down at the end of the turn to their burn, and this fight should be wrapped up. Malachite comes in for Dominoes, Solrock goes for a Sunny Day, and Hamburgite yawns, making the Solrock drowsy. With Solrock going to sleep the next turn, and Hamburgite back to full HP thanks to a rest, the rest of the fight is trivial. Eventually, Malachite takes out the Solrock with a rain-boosted single-target Surf, and with that, our 7th badge is in our hands. Our next challenge is a space tag battle with Steven against Maxie and Tabitha. We can only control half the team, and we can only bring 3 Pokemon, so we're going to need Steven to play smart to help us through this fight. I lock in Wendy's as our lead next to Metang against Camerupt and Mightyena. I pivot into Dominoes to get off the Intimidate. Mightyena goes for Scary Face so that they have the speed advantage now. Metang sets up a Reflect, and Camerupt goes for an Amnesia. Mightyena now is the fastest Mon in the field, going for a Swagger into Dominoes. Metang sets up a Light Screen for us, and Dominoes hits himself as Camerupt goes for another Amnesia. Swagger connects into Metang, who hits themselves as well. Luckily, Dominoes' Confusions ends, connecting a Strength into Mightyena for good damage, and Camerupt maxes out his special defense with another Amnesia. Another Swagger into Dominoes brings us to +4 attack. Luckily, Metang breaks through the confusion to connect with a Metal Claw, taking out Mightyena, which brings in Maxie's Camerupt. Unfortunately, Dominoes hits himself again, bringing him very low, and Camerupt continues to set up, this time with Focus Energy. Dominoes is now in range of taking himself out with a Confusion self-hit, so not wanting to risk it, I bring in Wendy's. Metang hits themselves again, as Maxie's Camerupt starts to set up with his own Amnesia. Tabitha's Camerupt connects with a Rock Slide, luckily not critting, as our Reflect wears off. A Silk Scarf boosted, Guts boosted Facade is enough to take out Tabitha's Camerupt, bringing in Golbat. Metang once again hits themselves, and Camerupt hits a really strong takedown into Wendy's, bringing him into the red. Not wanting to lose Wendy's, I bring in Taco Bell on an Air Cutter. Metang finally ends their confusion, hitting a Psychic into Golbat for great damage. But Camerupt goes for an Earthquake, taking out Metang and Taco Bell. For the life of me, I cannot save a starter for anything. And honestly, this one hurts the most. I absolutely love Blaziken, and plan to take him through the rest of this challenge. But now that can't happen, and it all comes down to bad team building. Leaving Taco Bell at home for someone like Malachite would have been correct in my opinion. But that's not what I did, and now we're in a really, really rough position. Dominoes and Aggron come out for our side. Thankfully, Dominoes outspeeds the Golbat, connecting with the strength to take him out, bringing in Tabitha's Mightyena on a Dragon Claw. Maxie goes for an Earthquake, which actually takes out the Mightyena before it even gets to do anything. This puts us in a good position, being in a 2v1 versus Maxie. Aggron goes for a Protect, as Dominoes goes for a Surf, doing a ton of damage into Camerupt, who just goes for another Earthquake for no damage. Another Surf takes out the Camel, as Aggron starts charging a Solar Beam? Steven, why is your Aggron a special attacking set? It has 110 base attack. How are you considered the best trainer in this region? Regardless, Crobat is Outlaster Maxie, who goes for a Wing Attack into Dominoes, who hangs on! Strength hits, getting a critical hit, and Aggron hits her with Solar Beam for basically no damage. At this point, another death is inevitable for us, and unfortunately I think it has to be Wendy's. Gyarados is just an absolutely insane Nuzlocke Pokemon, and I cannot afford to lose access to it with 2/3 of the challenge still remaining. I bring Wendy's in, and Crobat connects with an Air Cutter, taking him out. Thankfully, Aggron connects with a Thunder, taking out the Crobat and winning us the fight. This was really rough. Blaziken and Swellow are amazing Pokemon, and it's a shame that they're gone. But luckily, we get a bit of a breather before our next difficult fight. Archie and C4 Cavern is a joke compared to the space tag. With that out of the way, it's up to a 10-year-old Boyd and the Apocalypse. We make our way to Sutopla City, where Groudon just chilling on a little island of land, is trying to have beef with Kyogre. This cannot possibly end well for Groudon, but honestly, respect for standing up for yourself, my guy. We find Wallace, who tells us to go find Rayquaza. It's one round trip to Sky Pillar later, and the end of the world is over. With all that out of the way, it's time to take on the final gym leader, Juan. His lead Love Disc is quickly dispatched by Tiger's Eye Thunderbolt, bringing in Whiscash. I bring in Hamburgite on an Earthquake. The next turn, Juan goes for an Amnesia as we go for a Yawn. Whiscash sets up the rain as we connect with a Body Slam for just over half, and Whiscash takes a nap. Another Body Slam takes him out, bringing in Celio next. He connects with a weak Body Slam of his own, as Hamburgite goes for another Yawn. Water Pulse connects for little damage, as our Body Slam does over half. With Celio asleep, I bring back out Tiger's Eye, who outspeeds on the following turn and takes out Celio with another Thunderbolt. Groudon is out next, but also just goes down to another Thunderbolt, bringing in Juan's scariest Pokemon, his Kingdra. Thunderbolt does just over half, but Kingdra sets up a double team. Our next one misses, and a crit Water Pulse does over half. Thanks to our Citrus Berry recovery, we're just outside of crit range, meaning Tiger's Eye can stay in for another turn. Luckily for us, her Thunderbolt connects, and we have officially collected all 8 badges of the Hoenn region. With Waterfall now accessible, we can go get one more encounter, one that I've delayed for a long while. We make our way to Meteor Falls, all the way to the small room in the back, where we find Whataburger the Bagon. One quick trip through Victory Road where we pick up Del Taco the Hariyama, and we have made it to Evergrande City, home of our last challenge in Hoenn. With that, it's time to introduce the Elite Four team. Our 2 newest members of the team, Del Taco and Whataburger, 2 members of previous Hall of Fames, Malachite and Hamburgite, and finally, Tim Hortons and In-N-Out. With the introductions out of the way, it's time to get to the fights. First up is Sydney, the Dark-type Master. He leads Mighty Inna, but thanks to Del Taco holding a White Herb, his Intimidate does nothing to us. A crit Fake Out does just over half, and with a single Bulk Up, Del Taco takes out the rest of Sydney's Pokemon with a single Brick Break. We do miss one on Cacturn and Crawdaunt, but neither of them do damage to us, so we get through pretty unscathed. Second is Phoebe and her Ghost types. We lead Whataburger into Dusclops number 1. A quick pivot into Hamburgite on a Protect means that we can come in for free. After a bit of stalling from Phoebe, we connect a Yawn as she connects a Confuse Ray. With her asleep, we can bring in Del Taco for free and start setting up Bulk Ups. After 2, an Earthquake puts Dusclops into the red, prompting a heal from Phoebe. Our Protect stalls for another turn, but another Earthquake finally connects to take out her lead. Phoebe brings in Bayonet number 1, who goes for a weak Psychic and gets taken out by an Earthquake. Bayonet number 2 comes out, connecting a Will-O-Wisp, meaning our next Earthquake isn't enough to take her out. Del Taco is now out of Earthquakes, so we go back into Hamburgite on a Grudge for a free switch. Another Will-O-Wisp connects on her, but the burn isn't enough to stop our Shadow Ball from taking out Bayonet. This brings in Sableye next, who starts setting up double teams before going to sleep thanks to our Yawn. Thanks to our help Chesto Berry, rest means that we can go back up to full HP and get rid of the burn. After several turns of missing Shadow Ball, Sableye wakes up, setting up a third double team, and we finally are able to connect for some damage. Our Yawn puts her back to sleep, as we hit with another Shadow Ball, bringing Sableye into the red, prompting Phoebe to heal with a full restore. Hamburgite is done playing around though, as we connect with 2 Shadow Balls back to back, one of which crits, finally taking out the Sableye. Last for Phoebe is Dusclops number 2, and thanks to a Yawn into a couple more Shadow Balls, we're finally done with this fight. Next up is the Icy Lady Glacia. She leads her first Celio while we bring out In-N-Out. Who outspeeds and takes out Celio with a single Thunderbolt. This brings in her Ace Walrein. A quick Google search says that she doesn't have Earthquake, so it's safe for us to stay in and go for a Thunderbolt. We outspeed here as well, and our Earthquake is actually enough to pick up the KO. Glacia brings in Glalie number 1 next. In-N-Out continues our Thundery Onslaught, this time getting a Paralysis. Thanks to the Para, we're able to outspeed the next turn, even after the speed drop from the Icy Wind, picking up another KO. Celio number 2 is out next, and even at -1, we outspeed, getting the Oko with another Thunderbolt. This brings out Glacia's second Glalie last, but she just sets up the hail, meaning our next 2 Thunderbolts are enough to take her out, winning us the fight. The last member of the Elite Four is Drake and his team of dragons? Can I make the same joke for a 3rd video in a row? No, not this time. He actually has dragons. His lead Shelgon likes to go for Protect on turn 1, But turn 2, Tim Hortons outspeeds and gets the Oko with Ice Beam. This brings out Drake Salamence for a Rock Slide, but no flinch means he too goes down to an Ice Beam. Next is Altaria, but it just goes for a Dragon Dance, so naturally, another Ice Beam gets the KO. Fourth is this Kingdra, who also just goes for a Dragon Dance, as our Ice Beam only does about a third. Hoping to see another Dragon Dance, we go for an Encore, but instead it locks him into Body Slam. Whataburger comes in for the Intimidate, and thankfully both Body Slams don't get the para, so our Dragon Breath takes out the Kingdra. Last out for the Dragon Master is his Flygon, but his Dragon Breath into Earthquake isn't enough to take out Malachite before she can fire off an Ice Beam for the win. One fight left, and we, for the first time, have a full team of 6 going into the champ. While this can definitely be a pain if we aren't prepared, but there's no more time for prep. This is what we've been prepping for. Let's do it. Wallace's lead Wailord is very quickly dispatched by In-N-Out's Thunderbolt. This brings in Gyarados next, who should be going for an Earthquake, so we get a free pivot into Whataburger getting off an Intimidate. Rock Tomb connects, lowering the Gyarados' speed, who just connects with a crit Surf. Another Rock Tomb brings him into the red, but he starts setting up with a Dragon Dance. Anticipating the heal, I bring in In-N-Out for free, and thanks to the speed drop, we can safely outspeed and pick up the KO with a Thunderbolt. Next out is Whiscash, who should also be going for an Earthquake, so it's back to Whataburger once again. We fire off a Dragon Breath, getting the para, as Whiscash just sets up with an Amnesia. I pivot into Del Taco on a Surf for decent damage, Fake Out does some free chip, and then we set up a Bulk Up as Whiscash goes for a Hyper Beam for 37 damage. Thanks to the recharge turn, we can set up another Bulk Up, so a +2 Brick Break is enough to take him out. Tentacruel comes out next for him, but I'm not sure if Del Taco can live a Surf, so I bring in Malachite. We would have been safe to take the KO though, as he just goes for a Toxic on the swap. His Sledge Bomb does about a third, as Malachite does what she does best and hits a Hypnosis. This lets us bring back In-N-Out on Tinta's first turn of sleep, and thankfully he stays asleep for another turn so we connect with a Thunderbolt, leaving him with about a third. Tentacruel does wake up, but just whiffs on a Hydro Pump, meaning our next Thunderbolt takes him out. Ludicolo comes out next, and this thing can be a huge threat if it can start setting up double teams. Our Thunderbolt connects, only doing about a third, but we get a para. Unfortunately, Ludi does set up a double team, but this is why we've had Shockwave on In-N-Out for so long. It connects, and Ludi is parried for the turn. Fearing our next Shockwave will put him into the healing range, we whiff a Thunderbolt, and get hit by a Surf for huge damage. But there's no fear in this dojo, and In-N-Out hits their next Thunderbolt, bringing in Wallace's ace, his Milotic. We can get taken out by Surf here, so I bring back in Malachite, who soaks all of it up with Water Absorb. Milo's Ice Beam does weak damage, and Malachite hits another Hypnosis. This lets us bring in Hamburgite on a free sleep turn, but Milo gets the early wake up, going for Toxic. But thanks to Hamburgite's immunity, it does nothing. A Body Slam hits for about a third, Milo hits a Surf for decent damage, our next Body Slam brings him into the red, but thanks to his held Citrus Berry, he should be out of heal range. With one more Body Slam, Hamburgite takes out Wallace's final team member, not only winning us the fight, but this segment of the run. I love Pokemon Emerald. It has been my favorite game in the franchise since it released 20 years ago. This is a really fun run through the game, but we did lose some great Pokemon along the way. Haunter and Arrow, which have been there with us since the beginning. We lost Baitnet, if you want to count that as a loss, and Swellow, and of course, Blaziken. I'm not sure how available these Pokemons would be in future games, so these losses may not be too impactful, but deaths do add up, bring us up to 11 in total. For those who follow the podcast, I mentioned a while back that I had to play through this segment twice. The footage for the first run wasn't up to the standard that I wanted, and I felt it would have been better to delay the video than to put out one that was lackluster. For that, I'm sorry, but I wanted to thank you all for sticking around with the series through the delays. The series has been a breath of fresh air for me, allowing me to play through games I haven't played in quite a while. As always, I want to give Carl a huge shout out for editing this whole project for me, and next time on the channel, we'll be taking on Pokemon Platinum. Thank you all for watching, and until then, peace.